I will request us to stand for the national anthem. You may take your seats. Okay. First of all, I'd like to remind us, those who will need translation, channel number 1 is English, channel number 2 is French. At this juncture, I would like to invite our local host, Mr. Badrun Tege, for the welcome remarks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I take the fault of not having the East African anthem, because we usually have it on all events when we have the government in place. So that should have happened. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. As a local host, I'm humbled for what we have today. We've actually managed to host the Africa Internet Summit in Uganda. And we'd like to welcome everybody to Kampala, and beautiful weather, as you've all enjoyed it. I'm extremely humbled, as I say, to see a variety of distinguished guests in this room from all Afrinic member states, from different sectors and backgrounds. Let us recognize that we all share a deep interest and commitment to the growth and sustainability of the internet. Your presence here today is crucial because the internet is where it belongs in Africa, on top of the technical and the political agenda. And I count on the support of everyone in this room to make sure that it stays at the top of that agenda. A few days ago, we visited the Honorable Minister, and I did not take more than a few minutes to convince him that he'll be here. Not only that, we took a picture and it went viral. It tweeted. So thank you, and Honorable Minister, we know that you and the internet are very close together. After 20 years of hard work, we now have to make sure that we continue. AFNOG is an organization that has helped us really get to understand and own the internet as Africans. Using the internet is not owning it, but the ability to understand the technical, the ability to have the capacity to actually be able to design solutions, but also to maintain the internet is critical. And for that, we thank all the volunteers that have actually made it happen. We have to remember that we're here in terms of the Africa Internet Summit is actually born out of the dedication of a few members of the African community and our friends who actually came together and said, we have to find a way of training Africans to be able to own this. I personally got involved in this in 2003 when, again, under my ISP, we hosted AFNOG. By then it was a young organization. When I look in the room, I see some of the participants of that event. And those participants have actually grown and their careers have grown. So we owe a lot to the internet, we owe a lot to the capacity building that drives us. As you look around, we're now looking at a world where harnessing globalization is as important as consolidating social cohesion, where inequalities are the biggest obstacle of the path to excellence. And those inequalities cease to become financial, but they're intellectual. That intellectual means that the conversations that we have around here, the networking that we do, the fact that we're sitting in a room and we have participants and visitors from over 40 countries at my last count is testament to we're all here because of the internet. This morning in the African Government Working Group, when I was opening, we had an interesting conversation over, when I say the word OTT, everybody thinks of tax, but technically OTT is a technical term. But our budget just got read a few days ago. And how many in this room can tell me anything about the major outcomes of that budget? But last year, a tax was introduced, and there's those of us who think it's okay, some think it wasn't. But that particular tax brought a conversation across the entire spectrum, which meant that it touched from the market trader to the border to the doctor to the guys in the corporate offices, meant that it was about the internet. And we cannot ignore the impact of the internet from an economical point of view. I will not delve deeper into that point, but it was a testament to understand that the internet, its working, its usage are important to all of us. So what we have here is this particular meeting space, the meeting space that allows us to openly discuss, to challenge each other, to make friends, to create business relations, and also to interact with government. We have different sessions that allow us to do that. But as we move on, we must remember that sustainability is not about business only. Sustainability is not about politics only. Sustainability is about the commitment that we're custodians and we just continue passing this process over. This is what inspired us, or inspires my company to make sure that we host and bring the community here, make sure that we give you the best of Uganda. And I'm sure you have had the best of Uganda, but the best you have had is, I'm sure it's about 20% of what we can deliver. So on that one, I'll say there's a lot more to come. But when we look at the internet as I conclude, I want us all to take away the notion that the internet is not about bytes and bits and bytes. It's not about IP addresses only. Increasingly, as we all know, it's becoming part and parcel of everything we do. It's becoming part and parcel of how our next generation, our children, are going to use the internet, how they're going to grow their businesses. And being able to understand that, being able to realize the economical impact of that should be the conversation that we continue to understand, to go beyond the IP packets, to actually look at the social impact what the internet brings. And on that note, I would like to say thank you very much for being here in Kampala. Thank you very much for all the amazing conversations we've had all along. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for honoring the event. I can't conclude without actually thanking the assistance and the support that we've had from government. We've had support from the regulator, who has made sure that last week we had 60 Ugandans trained in networks and systems. And Honorable Minister, our target and our promise to the regulator is that over the next 18 months, these Ugandans are going to be around the country training. We do not want anymore to see a systems engineer travel from Kampala to go to Gulu to fill a mail server. We will go there and make sure that everybody in those countries.
The interest of the internet technical community to get together at least once a year is highly commendable. Considering the effort it takes to make it to the annual AIS pilgrimage, this commitment to internet development in Africa is highly appreciated. It was proposed in 1998 that we build a variety of internet technical institutions that we called AF Star. And there are several of them. We built these over the decades, each facing different challenges. Along the way, we decided that we should meet together and create an environment where any of these institutions may co-locate their meetings and events. That is the African Internet Summit. Honorable Minister, we have in our midst several of the global leaders of the internet with their African colleagues working together to make the one internet better for all of us. We trust that our approach to making decisions that harnesses a wide range of expertise from many disciplines to address internet development is a good way for your beautiful country to also make policies. This multi-stakeholder approach to governance is very effective when different parties own different parts of networks. This enables cooperation to create a common good for all of us. We have come here to work together, meet old friends, make new friends, and most importantly, to be happy. And we should not miss that opportunity. There are no challenges a determined community with goodwill cannot solve. And I urge all of us to fall for the infectious and happy spirit of AIS. I wish you a very good meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nee. We proceed with the speeches. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome Dr. Christian Bob, the Afrinic Board Chairman, to give his remarks.
Honorable Minister Frank Tamwibanze,
Minister Tabu Banze, Minister Badun Tebe, CEO of Consult Group, Dr. Nicolo, convener of AFNOG.
good afternoon. It's my pleasure to speak to you and to welcome you all most cordially to the official opening of the Africa Internet Summit 2019 here in the Pearl of Africa, Kampala, Uganda. On behalf of Afrinic Board and our IF Star partners, I wish to thank the NFT Consult for hosting us for this year's meeting. But most of all, we are here to honor by the very high-level delegation present here. We have on site 572 delegates from 47 countries present as we speak, and more are streaming this event session live. This is the first time our joint meeting is taking place in Uganda as the African Internet Summit. The summit is a vital avenue for consistent engagement with our members, the community, and other stakeholders. Most importantly, the summit ensures collective participation in our decision-making process and help us align our mutual common goal on developing the internet in Africa. Over the last 15 years, our discussions and deliberations have contributed to transform environment in Africa, where internet access and usage has improved exponentially. Ladies and gentlemen, economic indicators underscore that Africa is on this sustained growth path, with projected economic growth rate to accelerate to 4.1% in 2019. The role of the internet in development has also been well recognized by the known relationship between broadband penetration and GDP growth. Hence, as a key stakeholder, we must evaluate the role we are playing in this growth. We are bringing transformation in our economies and improving life of millions of individuals in the continent. Afrinic contribution to the continent development and progress is thus conveyed through the million of number of resources allocated to internet service provider and user over the years. Afrinic has achieved this distribution of internet number resources to over 400 million people across the continent. We are proud to be part of this journey. Increasing internet access means that more investment in critical infrastructure is required. Given that the internet grows at the edge, we together should derive appropriate policies to be put in place to support internet development in our country and African regions. As such, Afrinic meeting provide a forum to strengthen policy and promote technical discussion on internet issues in Africa. During this meeting, we shall also be discussing collectively how to further enhance internet number resources management in support of local policies. At this meeting, we shall be looking at the ways to strengthen our policy development process. We shall also be seeking to put in place better mechanisms to manage number resources, and in particular IPv6 distribution, as well as how we smoothly transition from IPv4 to IPv6. Essentially, Africa also needs to ensure that African unconnected are not left behind, that every device now and in the future can be assigned its own unique IP address so that it can connect and communicate with the global network. We must work with all stakeholders to ensure that we can reduce the number of unconnected within the continent. Above all, we must work to grow and strengthen our internet institutions. Afrinic has supported the growth of local network operator groups, network research education, as well as local internet growth forum initiative. As a community, we need to support Afrinic growth and into an institution that will help Africa achieve its internet development goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to report that Afrinic position in the internet ecosystem continue to grow by day. On behalf of Afrinic board, I wish to thank our members and community at large for the immense support that enabled us to effectively discharge our duty in 2018. Our efforts are clearly bearing fruit in this IPv4 depletion era as we keep engaging with and providing support to the community by conducting capacity building and outreach activity across the continent to champion IPv6 deployment and preparedness. In closing, I would like to thank our meeting sponsors for the most valuable support for this meeting. Local host, NFT Consult, Diamond, Uganda Communication Commission, Network the World, Platinum ICANN, Gold MTN Uganda, Silver Laris Cloud Services, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, Facebook, Wakren, Google, ISOC, Connectivity, CCOM, Welcome Reception, Uganda Internet Exchange Point, Media Partner, Next Communications, additional sponsors, CS Square, NSRC, Rock Telecom, Africa, Ghana.com, Raxio ICCC, TNC. A round of applause to them. I hope that you will get most out of this conference, and I wish you, and especially to our visitor from outside Kampala, a very pleasant stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Christian. At this juncture, I'll welcome our local host again to welcome our chief guest for his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I welcome the minister, I'll share a little bit of a story that I spent with the minister. We were in a workshop in Nairobi, and we went through the normal openings with all the East African ministers. After the opening, they all left. I spent the whole day with the minister. He did not leave. So that to me was first sign that we have the right minister. We spent a full day with him, all the workshops and all the meetings. So I'm sure the sector has got a very good person and with a heart for the sector. So Honorable Minister, with those few words, let me ask you to welcome you to the podium. And
Mr. Badru Ntege, the local host of this international conference. Local host, hosting the international conference. Very interesting. Representatives of the different partners, distinguished guests from the 47 countries, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My sincere apologies if I came in late. Today is Cabinet Day, but I had to get excused from the president who was chairing to come and open this conference. He told me in particular to welcome all of you, the visiting delegates from the 47 countries. Welcome to Uganda. It's not only Uganda, it's beautiful Uganda. And it's not only the beautiful Uganda, it's the power of Africa. So surely, as you talk about the internet, you are in the right place where you have the right mind, the ambience that will enable you to go through these very, very complex discussions. I've been told you've been seriously fighting with cybersecurity, internet routing, internet management, digital transformation, IoT, IPv6. If really the temperatures were humid, you wouldn't have managed to dissect all of these topics. Sure, many of you would be rushing 10 minutes to whatever airline to change your tickets. So welcome, feel at home, and when you go back, take our regards. That Uganda is not a closed country. We are really open to everybody. And we are the best investment destination anybody can think about. And now that you have come here to discuss the internet, which is a major tool for enabling transformation in all other sectors, it makes our investment environment better. As your keynote speaker, I don't have a written speech. Written speeches tend to limit you to read what you have. But with these situations, we need to think loud and out of the box. I come to address you essentially on 3 issues about the internet. Point number 1, how do we make the internet affordable for everyone? Give me a bottle of water. I want to demonstrate this. You call this safe water. You call it safe water. And now the struggle for governments, for international agencies, is to make sure that safe water coverage reaches everybody. But when we were growing up, some of us, the issue was not safe water. The issue was water. Isn't it? The issue was water for everybody. You are talking about safe water, but we had first struggled to get the water. Issues of safety were for our mothers to know how to boil the water. Boil the water, get a piece of cloth, if at all it is also safe, put it on the pot. If you come from any part of Africa, you know what a pot means. A pot. I wish I knew all the languages from West, South, and I speak in this, and you know what a pot means. It's made out of clay. It was used to keep water for drinking for a homestead because it would make it cooler, for sure. Yes, and they would put it behind, just in there. So our mothers would just get a clean piece of cloth, supposedly a clean piece, and use it as a filter. But they first boil this water and they clean the water. So if you had a lousy mother, you would consume it as you got it from the rivers. So now, why I use water, it started as a revolution. Everybody needs water. You may not, there is no struggle for chicken. Is it chicken? You don't need chicken for all. No. Some people could be vegetarian. But you need water for everybody. This is the internet. The internet is now a tool for all. The year 2007, Uganda hosted the CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government and what? State meeting. You know it. It's family known as CHOGM. So that's when the issue for internet connectivity was so much pronounced. The Badrun Tegis who really knew, who were in this trade and advocacy of computers, were a lot of voices struggling with their infocoms of this world struggle. Nobody knew internet. By then, it was only about email. Even telecom companies like MTN, the issue then was voice connectivity. I am sure, little did they know that data trade in the future would overtake voice. I'm sure MTN or others, sooner or later, they may even offer voice for free. Really, who wants really to make this phone, this manual? You go online. So the struggle we have now is, how do we make internet cheaper and affordable for everyone? The way water was made accessible and safe is my second point. And that's why you are talking about cybersecurity. Because if there are no issues of security, then you shouldn't be talking about cyber security. We want the internet to be a positive tool. So I am happy you have telecom companies in this conversation. I believe there are licensed ISPs here. Regulators meet from different countries, even ministries. We meet at ITU. We meet at the different African organizations where we belong to, Commonwealth. We are sharing experiences. But I think what you need to add on to the conversation is, how do we sustainably deploy and take broadband to the most rural at the affordable cost? Yes, access broadband, but also make it reliable. Recently, as government of Uganda, we have adopted a hybrid policy on the infrastructure to deliver broadband. We believe optic fiber can commonly take broadband to most parts of the country. But we also recognize it has limitations, optic fiber. It won't climb, it may not go to the mountains. It is prone to vandalism. So it may not give you, even 70% universal connectivity may not be achieved. But also, optic fiber was a game changer in the broadband connectivity struggle for most countries, especially in Africa. Because satellite costs, the capacity was expensive. Though now, different technologies have managed to give us better satellites and cheaper. So we recognize optic fiber as one common form of infrastructure. And I want to thank the telecom companies and other ISP providers that have heavily invested in that infrastructure. I think we should give them a round of applause. Because ordinarily they would not be doing that. They would be minding about trading in the service. And they would leave the infrastructure bit to governments, isn't it? Because just imagine a taxi company constructing a road. Would it make sense? Just imagine every airline constructing an airport for itself. Yeah, it is the same logic. Yeah, it is the same aviation infrastructure is left to government. Road infrastructure is left to government. But because governments had not seen the critical need of connectivity, they had first attended to the pressing other issues of infrastructure. So, but now, government is also coming in to complement the telecom companies in building this infrastructure, such that their ownership costs and investment costs in this infrastructure is not heavy and a burden to them, which eventually forces them to price the services so high because of the investment costs. So government of Uganda has been also investing in optic fiber. We also recognize other forms of broadband connectivity, terrestrial microwave, and satellite. The conversation we need to hear from technical people like you is, how do we ensure that private infrastructure and public complement each other without seeing as if you want to edge out another out of business? Because the governments are not in any trade. They want to complement you to make broadband infrastructure to recognize it as a public good. And I felt that would be good for the sector. Because if you leave it to the telecom companies, then you will never deliver internet cheaply as a common utility to the citizens. I do not know whether something like this featured in your conversations. If it didn't, please devote time, since you're still here, to discuss it. And do not think that the governments know it all. We actually do not know. Because, like the Ministry of ICT of Uganda, it was put in place 2006. But the sector was there. Wasn't the sector there? So you people in the sector really know more than perhaps we government people know. So that's why Badru knows that anytime he knocks at my door, I will open. Because you are really very important stakeholders. So to me, the point of delivering internet cheaply, the way we have managed to deliver water, should be a concern to people in the sector. It should be the concern of all these partners, and most importantly, it should be a concern even of ICANN, even of the International Telecommunication Union, to ensure that everybody, educated and uneducated, gets access. If they don't get access to the internet, then you shouldn't talk about digital transformation. Then you shouldn't talk about digital inclusion. Those would be redundant in my own opinion. How are you including me if I have no reliable connectivity? So that's a point I request that we take more time to look at. Of course, the second point is safety of the internet. The safety of the internet. How secure am I online? Okay? How are my accounts secure? How are banks secure? If banks are not secure, me too, I am not secure because I am a customer. So we must really look at this. The way people are debating gun control, it's not that guns are bad. They are tools of defense, but they can also be tools of attack. And so really, safety is about defense and attack. On the internet, we don't want attack. We want to use the internet to break the barriers of our businesses and go through, isn't it? We want to use the internet to connect to the unconnected. We want to use the internet to reduce costs of doing business. And we want to use the internet to create opportunities for those people who engage their brains to export their intellectual capital. And that's my third point, perhaps the last one. How can we create jobs in the ICT sector? We can only create jobs in the ICT sector to enable people who invest heavily in these infrastructures to believe that ICT sector is important. I have been trying to like Badru talked, you had Badru. This debate of do we tax foreign content over the top or not? It's not only in Uganda; it's everywhere. Even at the Commonwealth, I know there's a paper they have authored, the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization. But the whole point is, it's because there is imbalance of content export over the internet. If the East African region is able to really develop as much applications and we can also throw them online for people to consume, then the imbalance will be no more. So here I am talking about innovation. How do we create as many Silicon Valleys as possible in Africa? That's when the internet will be a balanced game. We shall not be at the receiving end of only consuming other people's, we are net importers of other people's solutions. We also want to participate. We want to use the internet to export our content. And this is something we need to discuss. An app in Uganda, an app in Nigeria, an app in Cameroon, an app in Rwanda. How can this gain regional or global acceptability? Yes. And here, I am really appealing to multinational IT giants. We've been supporting you for sure. We've been consuming a lot of your solutions. Our treasury is run on your solutions. Our central banks are powered by your solutions. Come partner with our governments to develop young startups, young talents, to be able to also trade in their innovations. Your advancement in technology can be of help to mentor these young people. If Oracle is here providing a solution, let the people who maintain that solution come from the host country. Okay? That's how the internet for sure is going to be seen as a global equalizer, as a global unifier. And that's how we are going to appreciate it more, that it's actually a very good world where there are no customs officials, where there are no aviation people to tell you to remove belts and shoes to be checked. That's the beauty of it. You get it? So that's how the internet, honestly, will be a unifier, will be an equalizer, and will be good for all. In international law, there's something they call ega omnes. Ega omnes means good against all. That's how the ICC is, the International Criminal something? Criminal, that it is good against all, that it will go for everybody. So now we want the internet to be good for all. So it will be good for all if the trade over the internet, if the empowerment reaches everybody. So those are my 3 takeaways, and I move with them, and I felt really, don't leave them out in this conversation. And I challenge the local host. Let's share. Since the Ministry of ICT is part of your partners, I want to thank our officials for participating in this. We could even have another local country discussion with the telecoms who are here, with the other people. What's our takeaway as Uganda from here? How does this speak to our policy? What can we reform? We are open to reform. We are open to reform because the ICT sector is a dynamic one. So how do we make sure the internet is accessible, reliable, and affordable? How do we ensure it is secure? And how do we ensure it's a fair trade for everybody? It only becomes a fair trade for everybody if we support local innovations to gain acceptance in the local, regional, and international market. So with those very many words, welcome again to the Power of Africa. Enjoy, and if you can, getting a resident permit is very easy here. Easy, and you can stay with us as long as you prove that you are here for no other purpose but to enjoy our beauty. God bless you.
Another round of applause for.
So when bishops finish preaching, they say the blessing, you know that blessing, eh? But you see, internet tech people should have time for God. You are busy with your gadgets, you don't pray. So having said whatever I have said, it's now my pleasure and honor to declare the African Internet Summit sitting in Kampala at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel open.
And on that note, you all can apply for the resident permits. Okay, we have come to the end of the opening ceremony. Just a few announcements. First of all, after this, there'll be the welcome reception taking place at the poolside terrace. You just go ground floor, you go up to the poolside. It starts at 6:30, and the event is sponsored by Uganda Internet Exchange Point. Please clap for them. They've organized a good evening for us. Another reminder is that the hashtag for this event is hashtag AIS19, hashtag Let Us Meet in Uganda, and hashtag AIS Kampala. Tag yourselves on the post, use the hashtag Let Us Trend. This juncture, you're free to leave, and I was your host, Susan Utieno, and see you later.
Okay, thank you.